Hey there, YouTube. Hey, hi. Welcome in. Uh, we're gonna be watching some legendary drops today. Uh, we have yet to actually watch one of their videos on stream, to be fair. I know. I typically like have him playing whenever I'm like driving to campus in the mornings, or I'll be listening to the Dropped Frames podcast. It's one of the two. Typically, that's like my morning drive routine, or it's part of my morning routine. But I wanted to save this video. I had completely forgotten about it. We're like 6 days late because I had seen it and I was like, I want to talk about this and watch this. But it was only a day after it was posted, so I was like, let's hold off a little. Um, But yeah, I talked to Ubisoft devs. It's worse than we could imagine. Let's go ahead and get into it. And yeah,
I had developers at Ubisoft reach out wanting to make sure that the right story is being told, and these guys are running out of time. While the company has been trying to put on a strong face, pretend like they have a plan moving forward, well, things internally have been falling apart faster and faster every single day, with
I
many
mean,
developers at the
yeah,
company now believing that
things would be falling apart all the time, especially if like the past 3, 4 years, even longer, you've been releasing games that your audience just genuinely does not care about. And that your audience feels like their time is just not being respected. Like I think the last Assassin's Creed game that I actually sat down and played all the way through was Black Flag. And I might be incorrect with the statement I'm about to say, but I believe that Unity came out after that, and I did not have a good time with Unity. I did not enjoy it. Um, so Black Flag was the last one that I sat down, played, and enjoyed. Uh, I started a replay of three, but we never did finish it, so that might be something we revisit because I like three. It's just I'm not a big fan of like the first couple chapters of the so for real. I prefer like closer to the aside from that though, Outlaws was well bad. I didn't play it, so um but community sentiment said it was really bad. So yeah. Let's go ahead and move on and keep going in the video.
this is just going to be the end of Ubisoft, and many of them are just preparing to leave. They've been telling me that there is new leadership that's being put in place that's completely unproven and never even worked on a game before. They've allegedly been lying about
That's a
their entire
problem.
plans to be able to save the company. Most of it's all just smoke and mirrors. They've been telling their employees to outright ignore player criticism because we don't know what we're talking about, apparently. And
Okay, that
these
is a
guys
big
still somehow
problem.
believe that they are the king of open world games, at least in their eyes. And they've even gone as
You can't be the king of open world games if your last couple of games have just been absolute garbage and trash. You don't respect the player. Whenever like that is just further proof if you are genuinely telling your employees to ignore player feedback and player sentiment, then there's a big problem because you guys aren't respecting the player's time, especially when most of your game is just me going through fetch quest after fetch quest just to move along in the story. And whenever you add like a bunch of little collectibles that I, want to get, but you've added so many that it doesn't make it worth my time anymore to look for them because there are too many and it doesn't feel special anymore.
far as to shut down any conversations at the company around Expedition 33 or Dispatch, games coming from former Ubisoft employees because, well, they don't, really match up with the direction that the company
Hmm.
is going.
So we also can't have conversation about successful games because they are made by competitors. They are made from people that used to work under you. They are succeeding, and you can't look at the game and try to take positives out of it to maybe throw into your own games. I feel like there's a big problem here at Ubisoft, and it isn't just the fact that they cannot make good games, but also the fact that they might be too prideful.
And also, those games are kind of flukes. Ubisoft isn't listening
Yeah,
to
they're
reason. They're
flukes.
not listening to their players. They're not listening to their developers. Hell, they just recently fired one for speaking out online. And now the company is sitting at its lowest point in history. So we have the developers coming out
And it'll only
to
go
set the
lower.
record straight. Today's video is sponsored by Displayed, and this one is perfect timing. With Valentine's Day coming up, Displayd's custom displays is one of the easiest gift ideas I have ever seen. You can upload your own image, your photos, artwork, memories, whatever you want, and apply some built-in filters to give it a clean, polished look without actually having to do any of the extra work yourself.
I used to think these
They have
were
a bunch
so
of different filter
cool.
styles, so whether you want something softer or more dramatic or just a nice version of an original photo, it can handle it for you. Upload the image, pick the filter, and Display turns it into a high
I
quality
just
metal
never got
poster.
into it though.
If you've never used Display before, they make premium metal posters. What am I talking about? We have talked about this 100 times. Why haven't you guys bought more of these things? There's
Okay,
no
those
tools,
look
there's no
nice,
wall
though.
damage. They're super easy to hang up and swap out. It's just one of those things that just works, and it looks better than anything else you could be putting up on the wall. They've got over 1 million designs, so if you want to go custom, games, anime, movies, limited edition, texture prints. But for Valentine's Day, you want to get something special, something that really shines. So go ahead and use code LEGENDARY at checkout. Hit the link in the description and take a look. If you're stuck on what you want to get someone this year, this solves the
Ayo,
problem
Display.
pretty fast.
My DMs are
Man,
open.
Ubisoft used to be that
Come
publisher. For the
on.
longest time, you didn't even question their releases because these guys just delivered. The 2000s to the early 2010s, it was a ridiculous run. Sands of Time, Splinter Cell, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Rainbow Six Vegas,
Yep.
Rayman
Yep.
Origins. Not all of these games are perfect, but
Oh, Rayman, bro. Oh my god. The Rabbids game, I love that. I love that so much. Honestly, old Ubisoft, phenomenal. New Ubisoft can kick rocks. But Rayman, peak. In my opinion, literal peak. I love that game series so much.
man, these guys had a grip on the industry. Big franchises, real identity, and some real production value. Just solid games all around. Then somewhere in the mid-2010s, the crack started to show, and it stopped just being Ubisoft jank in some of their games, and it started just becoming the entire product. Unity was a disaster.
This is Watch Dogs, right?
felt like
I
one of
think
the
it
first
is.
times that
Yeah.
a ton of people got sold one thing and shipped another. That game did not look anything like its trailers. And yeah, these guys still had some wins in that period. You had Siege and Origins, Far Cry 5, Wildlands, The Division 2, but the
Siege
rot
was
already
good.
spreading. More formula, more padding, more copy-pasted open worlds full of a shitload of chores, and monetization.
I want to say Operation Health was the last good update that Siege had, in my opinion. Else it was the one right after. But I want to say it was Operation Health.
Creeping into everything until single player just barely even meant anything anymore. And that slow decay finally turned into what I view as now an active free fall. Years of fatigue caught up, and now it's just been miss after miss. Avatar, Skull and Bones, X-Defiant, Star Wars Outlaws, even Assassin's Creed Shadows came and went from conversation like it didn't even matter. And none of these
and
games
they were all
small
shit on.
bets.
Their
These are massive
conversations
projects,
weren't good.
massive budgets, and they didn't pay off. Not a single one of them. Now it's studios being shuttered, layoffs at Massive in Stockholm, leadership shakeups, projects being canceled and delayed. Prince of Persia being one of them. And actually, in some of my conversations with the devs, they told me that they had heard internally that it was all tied up in this training setup with students in India for cheaper labor. And that game was basically so mismanaged that it just became completely unsalvageable. Now you have investors that are bailing out. Their stock has been in the dirt for years, and on the U.S. stock exchange, it's sitting at under $1. Everything for this company feels like it's getting worse day by day. So yeah, when I say that Ubisoft is out of time, guys, I am not saying that for the title. I am saying that because that's what it looks like from the outside, and apparently that's exactly what it looks like from.
All right, if the stocks are truly under $1, right, which I'll check it after stream. I'll take a little peek. But like, would it be dumb to throw like $15 into Ubisoft stocks? Like, would that be me putting too much faith into them maybe going back to their original formula after so many years? After so many years of them proving that they won't do it? Like, is that copium? Am I coping too hard with that? Please let me know.
The inside.
Yeah.
Following the recent reports of Ubisoft developers updating their resumes while they're still employed, and also another developer that got fired for criticizing the company on LinkedIn, I had both former and current Ubisoft developers reach out to me. Their identities will be kept secret for very obvious reasons, but they want people to understand what is actually going on inside the studio and where they think all of this is headed. First, I simply asked, how does it feel working there right now? And they answered, in one word, depressing. It feels like nothing can be done at our scale as employees, and the future looks even worse. I asked, do any of the developers see the light at the end of the tunnel, or do they just feel like they're on the Titanic at this point? They come back to me with, well, as far as I can see, there are three main views. One, I have a family, so I can't really move, so I just hope for the best. Two, I'm preparing my resume. And three, I'll probably just leave the industry. I then asked, with
That's
everything
so
that's happening with
sad.
the company, management, and the overall direction, do you guys
That last one is so sad. Like, especially from my perspective, I am not in industry yet. I am still like teaching myself, and I am, going to school. But knowing that there are people that are sitting in some of these companies that feel like, hey, I can't take it anymore and I just want to leave the industry, like that hurts to hear, that hurts to see. And honestly, it doesn't make me feel super hopeful, but at the same time, like this is low key like a dream position that I would have wanted as a kid or when I was younger per se. Like ultimately, I'm gonna be so for real with you guys. My like my dream jobs right now would be, and both of these companies are not in the best spots either, which sucks to say. But I would say either a weapon designer for Destiny 2, which Bungie is not doing too hot, or a combat designer, weapon design character, whatever, whoever does the 3D modeling at Blizzard, maybe not full on characters, but like weapons. Weapons designer for Blizzard. We'll say that for like Overwatch or for any of their games, really. Um, I don't know why I said combat designer, but definitely weapons designer. I love stylized weapons that Blizzard does, but I also love the more like grounded in reality slash science fiction weapons that Bungie does. So it's like, oh my god, I love them both, and I'm currently like remaking a weapon right now, which I really hope it comes out well. I've been super stressed working on that, but um yeah, like me coming from somebody who's currently in school trying to get the necessary skills to step into the industry, it is rough to hear things like this. And it literally like it's heartbreaking every time.
guys feel like you're even making games for players anymore? They answered, most of the time it's hard to tell. Many just started working like it's a 9 to 5. I responded, well, is that the overall feeling right now? Most people have just checked out. Where do you guys think this company is headed? They respond, I don't think it's everyone yet, but most people think that the direction is delusional and gripping to the hope of releasing a bestseller like Valhalla at its peak at the pandemic or a Fortnite like live service. I
But
think
did
that
Valhalla
while
really
some
do that well? Because I could have sworn there was a lot of complaints with Valhalla that it was like there were too many collectibles, there was too much open world, like it just felt empty. That has been like the running thing for the past I don't know how many Assassin's Creed games. So I feel like this employee might be on some copium. I know that a lot of people played Valhalla during the pandemic, but like you got to keep in mind that like that was during the pandemic. Everybody was trying every game they could get their hands on, and you had like this whole new wave of like normies that came in and didn't really know what a good game was, right? A lot of them were playing Fortnite or Valorant.
Some don't really think about it. Many think that we're just going to end up bought by Tencent for IPs. Well, I'm going to say it's no wonder that these developers feel defeated. They know the company is underperforming. They're watching studios get shut down, watching layoffs roll through, hearing more about right sizing and reorganizing like it's some sort of seasonal update for the company. You would think at some point these guys would see some real change, something that actually addresses why players have checked out, why we stopped buying their games, why their games pretty much across the board are underperforming. But instead, they have management that is clinging to the same idea over and over again, that they're somehow going to recreate the success of Valhalla, a game that blew up in a once-in-a-lifetime moment where the entire
Right.
world
If I'm
was locked in.
I'm going to assume that I was incorrect about Valhalla. Maybe we visit it and we play it on stream at some point. We'll see.
Inside their house, while also chasing the live service dragon, thinking that they're the ones that are going to be able to crack it, even though publisher after publisher has tried and gotten humiliated for it. And the crazy part is that we don't even have to guess if that's the mindset, because Ubisoft's CEO basically said that outright in their investor briefing. On one hand, the AAA industry has become persistently more selective and competitive, with rising development costs and greater challenges in creating brands. On the other hand, exceptional AAA games, when successful, have more financial potential than ever. In this context, today we are announcing a major reset build to create the conditions for a return to sustainable growth over time. We are transforming Ubisoft's operating model to produce exceptional quality games on two core pillars of our strategy: open world adventures and games as a service native experiences. I cannot believe that this is coming from the same company that wrote one of their villains saying,
Listen, I don't mind open world experiences, even if they are at this point very much overdone. What I'm having an issue with is whenever we have these single player experiences that have microtransactions that end up turning the game into a live service. So can we not do that? I don't mind multiplayer, right? I'd like Far Cry multiplayer, fun with the lads, definitely fun with the lads. But I should be able to enjoy your game as a single player experience and as a multiplayer experience. I should not feel like I need a multiplayer experience to have fun. And I also don't want to pay for your shit when I can get it myself playing game. So please quit doing it.
do you know the definition of insanity? These guys are literally betting the house on doing the exact same thing that they've been doing for the past
They are
10
literally
years.
saying,
Exceptional
let it
AAA
ride.
games are successful and they have more financial potential than ever. Where? When? I haven't seen them. I don't think anybody else has, because the last 5 years have been completely dominated, not by exceptional AAA games. No, it's been smaller games, games that are actually focused, games that are actually finished, games made by people who actually know what they're doing. And even when you're making your point that, oh, some of the biggest AAA games that are out there are some of the biggest AAA money printing moments. Okay, yeah, you have Diablo 4. That's probably the only example that you're going to be able to use here. And look where that game ended up. Meanwhile, Baldur's Gate 3, for all intents and purposes, that was definitely a AAA-sized cultural event, but it was something that was built closer to a AA budget, single player, no microtransactions. Hell, even the developers are so anti that stuff that they put it in their damn FAQ. So how do you hear players that have been complaining for years about bloated open world games, about monetization that's infecting everything, about live service elements that are being folded into games that they have no business
You know, the
being there,
Division
and then
sounds
go
like
and
a
look
good
at the
idea.
graveyard of failed live service launches with a couple of outliers and think that you guys are the ones that are headed in the right direction? What is wrong with this company? So I ended up asking the developers directly, are they just flat out ignoring player feedback? What has been their thoughts on how low players think of them? They responded, they are completely ignoring feedback. They think that the silent majority will keep buying games and microtransactions. The issue is with leadership that they still think that Ubisoft is leading the open world genre, so quality is never questioned despite the shortfalls of recent releases. I then asked, so management is flat out not learning their lessons and ignoring players and the teams. They responded, higher ups, yes. Lower management usually want to do something, but are powerless. I hate how vindicating it is to hear something like that. Yeah, it definitely makes me feel justified. I'm sure it makes a lot of you guys feel justified too, but I can't imagine how miserable it must be to work inside of a company where you actually want to do something different. You have people that are there that want to fix it, who can see the problems clearly, but they get stonewalled by leadership that pretends like nothing is wrong, tells them to ignore feedback, and just keeps forcing everything in the same direction. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are going to say, just leave. Well, some of these developers are, but it's not that simple. It's not like you have studios around every single corner for these guys to be able to hop to, especially when you got a family, mortgages, visa situations, or whatever else. So what happens instead is exactly what these guys told me. It just turns into a 9 to 5. People check out. They just do what they're told. They just put their head down, hope everything turns out all right. They ride it out and hope that some other company is going to come in and buy them before it all collapses on top of them. I think this is how we're getting a lot of what we're
I don't
seeing from
think any
AAA right
company
now.
is gonna
Games
want
that
to
are
buy you
launching
except for
painfully off the
10
mark,
cent, mate.
projects that feel like they're wearing the skin of older franchises without any of the soul, and design decisions that feel like they came straight out of a meeting, because none of these games are actually being made by the people who work there. They're being made by the people who are telling them what to do, and most of the people that want to try to do anything have already checked out. I've spent a lot of time talking to AAA developers, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is a problem that these guys run into all the time. They hear the players. They know what we're complaining about. They know that they can fix it. They see the way to be able to fix it. They want to fix it, but management steps in the way every single time. These guys want to fix mechanics. They want to fix character designs, the direction of some of these games. Some of these guys are even pushing back against live service, but management says no. They say that we are wrong, that we're the ones that don't know what we want, and they do know what we want, and then they force these developers to just press ahead. I don't understand how you manage a company this poorly. How do you not listen to your customers? How do you not see these obvious mistakes? How do you not recognize that you have hit an iceberg? Some of these people...
One big problem is the constant push for live service. And it's a problem within the industry because so many people are trying to do it. And to be fair, I feel like there are only two companies that are doing it right. Okay? And it's whoever made Warframe, which I believe is Digital Extremes, unless I'm incorrect. I might be incorrect. I want to say that's the company. I don't know for sure, but whatever company is behind like releasing Warframe, right? Their developers, phenomenal job. Clearly, y'all have a great community. Clearly, y'all are alive, breathing, and well. You're free to play. You're like your community makes your fashion frames, and it is gorgeous. So Warframe doing well, doing well. I don't think that they have too many problems. I don't hear a lot of problems from that corner of the internet. The other one, Blizzard, Blizzard with WoW. I'm sorry, but and their MMO has been going for years, guys. Like, so many people subscribe to it, so many people stay in on it, and I guess you could say Square Enix too with Final Fantasy 14. There you go, three live service games that I feel are probably doing phenomenal and that are hitting where companies like Ubisoft, Bungie, like these companies wish that they could hit the numbers that these guys are doing. And it is just they gotta quit. They gotta quit trying, bro. Like I need Bungie to go back to their roots and do right by Destiny rather than constantly throwing stuff in the Eververse store for us to want to buy, but then pricing it kind of oddly, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of the Eververse stuff could probably come down a little bit in terms of silver price because I doubt y'all are making that much sales. I'm pretty sure most of your players are waiting for it to come by in the Bright Dust shop. But might just be
people who've been working at this company forever. Some of the guys are the people that owned it and operated it and founded the company, and they still don't see any of this stuff. And while I am all for Ubisoft cutting weight, I've talked about that a ton of times. They have way too many people that are working at that company. There's
trim
still
the
over
fat.
17,000 people. None of these
Trim the
layoffs mean a
actual
thing
fat that
if this
isn't
company does
helping,
not
bro.
learn from any of its failures. And they're not. I mean, the CEO actually believes that the only reason that Star Wars Outlaws failed is because the Star Wars IP is bad. Because nobody likes Star Wars anymore. Even though
Bullshit.
I'm pretty sure people really liked Andor, and there was a movie that came out that I think a lot of people like. I didn't get to watch it. I've been out of the whole Star Wars thing for a while. We also had Battlefront that saw a massive resurgence of players just before the launch of Star Wars Outlaws. So how does that make sense? How delusional can you get? Well, apparently pretty damn delusional, because it's going to get worse. Wait till you hear how these guys reacted to the success of Expedition 33 and how their solution to their over-management problem is more middle management. Over the past
That's
couple
so
of months,
bad.
Ubisoft has
That
basically
there's no
delivered
way.
nothing but bad news. But in the middle of that, they still took the time to hold an investor meeting for like the 5 investors that these guys still have left, giving their plans for 2026 and beyond. More cuts, more projects being shelved, and the big headline that they really wanted everybody to focus on was a complete restructuring, supposedly aimed at delivering higher quality games. They're carving the company up into 5 creative houses, with Ubisoft HQ overseeing all of it, and they're selling this as a new era of speed and discipline, placing creative and financial accountability closer to
Speed and discipline. So you mean cutting corners and being cheap? Um, because let's be for real here, right? These things fit in a nice little triangle. You can have, let's say the top of the triangle is good. The bottom left is gonna be cheap, and the bottom right is gonna be fast. We can only have 2 of these. Can't have all 3. And you, my friends, want cheap and fast. So nothing coming out of you is gonna be good. Thank you for already showcasing that to not just me, but to everybody, and especially to your investors. Because if they know anything, they know that you are completely ignoring the good. Can we just not do the fast part of things, right? Like if we want to be saving money, can we just aim for good and saving money and take our time and craft a beautiful story and give it the love that it needs? Because ultimately, that's the only way you're getting back on the map, big dog.
where value is created, simplifying the organization, better deploying resources, all the usual bullshit. So the obvious question is, what does this actually mean for the people that are making games? Because Ubisoft loves announcing plans, but they don't really like following through on a lot of things. What I want to know is whether or not this is actually going to make anything better. I asked the developers, I know that they had pivoted, reorganized, brought in some new leadership, but my biggest worry, and probably the same worry a lot of other players is having right now, is this company being run by people who actually know how games are made? Are you running into that kind of problem? They responded, there are several issues that plague the company. That pivot looks like fairy dust, to be honest. Most leadership was already there. We used to have zones a year or two before creative houses, which did nothing but create a new layer of management. There are still some people at
So
the head of the
creative
company that have
houses are just
been
gonna do
in
the
game
same thing.
development at some point, but it's been years. The way that games are made now is different. I also heard that most of them are just yes men now. Okay, so this is where things are getting really good. So basically what they're saying is the restructuring is just a smokescreen. It's the same people, maybe a couple of new faces, but most of the leadership has been removed from the actual work for years, so many of them don't even understand how games are made today, which is making things even more difficult for the developers. They're essentially being given new management that hasn't worked on games in years or have never personally worked on a game before, all while the company is placing another layer of management
That's
on
such a
top of
bad
all of
thing.
that to make things worse. Unable
I People in management positions, I feel, need to have industry experience. And the reason why I say that is because ultimately, if you're gonna manage the people under you, you got to know the type of work that they do. And especially when it comes to like game producers, I feel like producers should have some experience in every angle or in like in every discipline of the pipeline, right? Like I don't want a producer to walk into the audio engineers and be like, "Hey, I need you to like, I don't know, make this many sounds, this many songs, whatever, in X amount of time," and give them like a completely bad like time frame, Like, honestly, if you expect that from your team, then I hope to God you can do it yourself in that time. Like, if you're gonna go to a 3D modeler and be like, hey, I need you to, like, let's say uh make this many weapons before launch, dog. I can only make you one or two. I cannot make you 10. Like, I feel like game producers and management for these companies need to have industry experience because they need to have the correct expectations on how long it takes to do every part of the goddamn pipeline. And even if they don't have experience in every discipline, at least make sure that all of upper management has experience somewhere. Make sure that they all have experience somewhere so that they can actually talk and create timelines that are reasonable. Like, is that a bad take? Is that not a reasonable take? Please let me know.
To believe what I was hearing, I asked them to clarify. Yeah, as I said, right now it's a bit chaotic. It feels not as planned as publicly showcased. Well, it wasn't really organized into creative houses, just there are now projects that belong into different ones within the organization in the same building. I responded, that seems wildly disorganized. So, how many layers of management are there between the developer and the studio head? They came back with, depends on the game. On a mid sized project where the whole team is in one studio, you could have 6 to 7 layers between developer and the
Oh
studio
my
head. If
god.
it's a
What?
multi studio collaboration, it gets worse. You can easily hit 10 or 11 layers because the team and even sometimes the directors sit under a studio lead, which has their own management chain under the game producer. I then asked them, is that normal? That feels like a lot of layers of management. Doesn't that cause issues? No wonder developers don't feel heard. Nobody can hear you. They responded, no, it causes a lot of issues. Meetings are bloated. Most people zone out. Information gets lost. People work on things that are not up to date. Work that has already been done without consulting another team needs to be redone or patched. Feedback arrives late or not at all. Fixes often get delayed and pushed
This
as much as
can't be
possible, rushed,
like
or even put off until launch.
there has to be a
Well,
better way to
well,
do
well,
these
doesn't
things.
that explain all the issues that we see in games and why budgets have ballooned to hundreds of millions of dollars? When you have 7 layers of people between the ones doing the work and the ones that are steering the project, sometimes even 10 or 11, game development isn't even about making the game anymore. It's playing a game of telephone. You're just trying to push a message through a human maze. And by the time it reaches the other side, if it even does, it's going to be watered down, misunderstood, outdated, or it's just going to collide with something that another team already did. And that doesn't just explain bugs, that also explains the quality drop. The way that these franchises have slowly started to lose their identity and they've started to wear the skin of what they used to be because nothing is getting through cleanly. Proposed changes, even simple ones, are going to take weeks or months for these guys to be able to move on. And beyond that, it also applies to the soul of the project. How clearly can a vision come through when someone who is writing the dialogue, designing levels, or trying to shape the narrative has to pass everything through layers of Dante's Inferno just to try to get a straight answer?
There has to be a better way. There has to be a better way to like manage a team and be organized. And I don't get how we can be like a multi-million dollar company or a billion-dollar company and not genuinely have a proper way of communication or a proper like pipeline for these things. Like, I get it, it's hard to manage a large team, but the half of these things shouldn't be an issue, right? Like, where are the comms? Why are we not communicating? Why is this so difficult? Like, maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe I don't get the inner workings of a company. But like, there has to be a better way.
The only thing that's going to survive is going to be the simplest version of everything possible. Safe choices, repeatable formulas, stuff that is easy to justify and easy to track. The only thing that you're ever really going to see change, especially from Ubisoft titles, is going to be the monetization because, well, that's ironclad. That's a demand that's coming from the top with no mixed messaging. Also, probably a lot of stuff from their HR department, too. I just don't get how you look at the past couple of years and think that doubling down is the answer. The industry has been rewarding the opposite right now. Tighter teams, tighter scopes, lower budgets, games with real identity, and yeah, AAA is still going to hit sometimes, but the conversation keeps getting swallowed by stuff like Silksong or Schedule 1 or Expedition 33. How are you not going to learn from that? Which then reminded me, for how big Expedition 33
Because
got,
all
even
of
the
these
French Prime
indie
Minister
games
shouted
and
them out.
smaller studio games
Ubisoft
are
was
doing
silent.
so much better.
So I asked the developers, what was the internal reaction to Sandfall's success, especially with former Ubisoft developers on that team, and did they learn anything from it? They responded, none. No reaction. They believe that Ubisoft isn't doing the same scale of game and that this team size isn't fit for a project that the company needs to make. As I said, they want to focus on live service and open world. What the fuck? I had to pry further, so they just brushed it off. No internal discussion. They come back saying, many of the developers are players too, people that love the game, and they tried to bring it up to management saying, why don't we have projects like this? And they found 10 bullshit excuses to showcase how unrealistic it is and how we should ignore it in an internal Q&A. The famous "it's an exception." Executives said there are tons of other indie games like this that fail. Can you guys imagine being in that building
but
and
this
hearing
one
that? You go and you play
succeeded,
Expedition
so why not
33,
look
you're
at
hyped
it
for the people that used to sit a
and
couple of desks away from you. You see the
make
whole
something
industry light
similar,
up over it.
brother?
You're thinking,
What?
finally, we have proof of concept that the smaller, focused, actually creative approach can still work, and your own executives look you in the face and go, nah. What is wrong with these people? Not what we can learn, not why did this land, not how do we get some of that discipline back, just excuses, dismissal, a corporate coping mechanism. We don't make games like that. It's an exception. Indie games fail all the time. We do live service and open worlds. It's just so gross. It's not even a disagreement about taste. It's just an admission that their model matters more than their own craft does. The people inside are trying to do what they can, and they're trying to fix games and make them better, but the leadership is basically saying, sorry, that's not the business that we're in. I can't help but think that these guys, their executive staff, had to have just been so salty about Expedition 33. That game had lit up the entire industry. Everybody was talking about it. You have your own government talking about it. Yeah, I'd imagine these guys weren't very happy. I mean, every single headline, every video, every review made sure to make mention that a couple of their employees had slipped out the back and made a better game without them. I can't imagine that these guys took it all that well.
That has to
It's
be
the exact same thing with...
that has to hurt the ego, right? Like, knowing that a team that came out of you, that you have probably fired, let go, or has just left due to disagreements with management, and they were able to make something more successful that became talk of the town before you could release something that was good since their departure. That has to hurt. That's probably why they don't want to talk about it. And like, let's be real here. Them not wanting to talk about it just further drives another nail in their coffin. Because the industry needs to learn from itself. And if it's not learning from itself, then it's not going to move forward at all. And that's a big problem. That is a very big problem.
Dispatch. And you know what's really funny is that if I recall correctly, there were developers that came out, and there were reports that were made that similar concepts were brought up to Ubisoft, but they had passed on it. Imagine being that blind to the own talent in your studios. Your own talent in your studios. Imagine being that blind to good ideas that you guys couldn't pick that stuff up. Imagine being so bitter that you can't even learn lessons from it. The CEO needs to resign. It's the only way that I see this company finding any success. All of their bad
not
decisions
just
are
the
coming from the top.
CEO.
I know in a lot of cases people want to point out the
Upper
developers.
management
in some cases,
as a
it is
whole.
the developers that are the problem. That's not saying that Ubisoft doesn't have any problem developers or any other parts of
we
leadership.
need the
but a lot of this stuff is coming
to be
from
moved
the top.
up.
And it's obvious that they're just ruining this entire company. I mean, I am of the mind that the only reason that Tencent is investing as much money as they are is because they know they're investing into the Titanic, and they know that ship is going to sink right into their own pocket. They're just going to take all of the IP. And whether that actually means a better environment for the developers or them just shipping all those games off to be developed in China or something like that instead, I have no idea. But I will say this, and I don't say it very often, I feel bad for these developers. What a hellish and blind environment to work in, with no care for the art of game making, and also
I wouldn't want to work there.
I'm
gonna be so for real.
Are asking them to make. Did you know that the hires that they made to fix Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six for Vantage Studios is the CEO's son and his cousin? His son, by the way, His
Oh
only
my
experience
god.
is in NFT games and mobile games. So, you know, that bodes well for those franchises. I'm sure that's going to go just fine. You know, it's one thing to be this ignorant when you're successful. It's an entirely different thing to be this ignorant when you are one of the biggest, scratch that, what were one of the biggest publishers in the games industry with some of the most recognized IP in the games industry, and now you're circling the drain. But for whatever reason, you will just not learn from any of your mistakes. They just don't
Yo, at
exist.
least the
You
captains are
have to
going down
ignore
with
them.
the
You
ship,
tell your
right?
developers to ignore them when your developers are actively begging you, trying to fix things. They want to make better games. They want to be in smaller teams. They are telling you what the problems are, but you guys just won't listen to them. This is the reason why smaller studios do so well. It's because they have an easier time communicating with one another, an easier time keeping one cohesive creative vision, an easier time listening to the players.
Then that's not the only thing, but it's also like they just can actually take their time. Like, trust me, a bunch of indie games that seek funding like don't even get to keep their funding, or they run out of money. Right? A lot of games run out of money, and we don't get to see them. They get canceled all the time. It's something that is always brought up by like my professors and probably anybody that you chat with in the industry or who came from the industry, is that they will tell you that they probably worked on so many projects that they wish that they could show you their work from, but due to NDAs and due to projects being canceled, they weren't able to bring this up. And it's like, dude, in like indie games that get canceled, that really blows, because it's like it's something that was probably good, something that would have probably done amazing in the landscape, but due to the fact that investors want you to play safe and want you to make something for the modern audience, as they say, we don't get to see them. They'd rather put their money into slop like that rather than something that is coming from the heart and that is actually being given the love it deserves. And that's sad to like hear, it's sad to talk about, it's just not it, man.
I don't see this company getting better, especially with the way that they treat their developers, especially with the way they run their business. And if things don't change fast, they're going to be done sooner than we think. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to share the video on social media. Share it with your friends. Share it all to everybody. Share it with your family. Watch it around the TV, whatever you guys want to do. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter. I will catch you guys in the next one.
All
Stay
right.
cool. Stay righteous. Stay safe. Peace.
All right. Well, you guys heard him. You know, drop a like, subscribe to him. Subscribe to me if you enjoyed my commentary on it. A lot to think about and a lot of conversation to be had with this video. To be completely honest, I'm kind of upset that I low-key kind of forgot about it until now. You know, a week later. But if we're to be completely honest here, it like Ubisoft just isn't in a good spot, and it probably won't be. Um, and it sucks. It really does suck, especially with like how good their games were back then. But we can be hopeful. We can cope. Buy Ubisoft stock. You know, let's throw it in. Let's pump the Ubisoft stock, bro. Um, but no, yeah. Thanks for coming in and listening to me yap. I think that might be it for tonight. We might do one more video. I don't know. Um, thank you guys. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.